Hello, and welcome back to the Bankside Science Podcast, episode 3. I'm Simon Shepherd, and I'm the science lead teacher here at Bankside School, and today we are zooming in, way in, and we're gonna talk about something so very small you can't see it with your eyes, and of course, something that you can't see with your naked eye, remember, is microscopic. But it's so blooming important that nothing living could exist without it. Dun dun dun! The big question is, what are cells and why are they so important? So let's start with the basics, shall we? Every living thing on Earth is made of cells, right? You, me, plants, animals, trees, even tiny little microorganisms. And remember, like I've just said, micro means you'll need a microscope. And an organism, therefore, is any living thing. So we've gone microorganism, which is a living thing that you need a microscope to look at, but organism means any living thing. So if something is living, it's an organism. If it's an organism, it's got cells. It's that simple. Cells, like I've said, are tiny. And millions of them could fit on the full stop if I wrote this sentence down. That's why microscopes are a really important part of science and biology especially. Cells, and you've probably heard me say this a lot, are the building blocks of life. Some organisms are made of just one cell, and we call those organisms unicellular. Where do we get the word unicellular from? So imagine a unicycle in a circus, a one-wheeled cycle, right? It's the same way we describe unicellular. It means one cell. Other organisms with more than one cell, we call those multicellular. In multicellular organisms, like humans, different cells have different jobs. If we look at humans and animals, muscle cells help you move, nerve cells help you think and feel, and blood cells help you carry oxygen, especially the red ones. Most cells share some very basic parts. If we imagine looking at a cell under a microscope, we'd be able to see the cell membrane on the outside of the cell. Now the cell membrane is a bit like a gate, and it controls what goes in and out of the cell. Then in the cell, you've got like a jelly substance called cytoplasm. And cytoplasm is where lots of chemical reactions happen within the cell. Then we get to the brains of the cell. Just a quick note, the cell doesn't have a brain. But what it does have is a nucleus. So the nucleus is a brilliant word that we all need to remember, because the nucleus is the control center. And from a fundamental science fact point of view, the nucleus contains DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. It contains all the genetic information. Plant cells, on the other hand, they're a bit different because they have extra things. They have a cell wall to keep them rigid and sturdy, a large vacuole to contain nutrients and water, and chloroplasts. Now, more of chloroplasts in another episode, because we're going to talk about how chloroplasts allow plants to make their own food using sunlight. And remember, this process is called photosynthesis. Anyway, back to cells. Cells don't just exist, they do things. They all have functions. Cells grow, cells divide, cells carry out chemical reactions. When cells stop working properly, illnesses and diseases like cancer occur. So just have a bit of a pause for a moment and think about that. Because right now, at this very second, as you're listening to me in my podcast, millions, billions of cells inside your body are working to keep you alive. You don't know about it. You've got no control over it. It's just happening. That's just bonkers. Absolutely blooming bonkers. So in science at Bankside, you'll look at these cells using microscopes, draw them, label them, and compare different types. And in some of the lessons, we've already done that. So in Key Stage 4, we've already taken DNA out of kiwi fruit and strawberries. So we've been able to extract microscopic levels of genetic material from fruit and strawberries and look at it under the microscope. You'll have to learn things like the structure and how the structure of cells links to the function. The job that a cell does depends on its shape and what parts it has. And something which people often get confused is cells are not atoms. Cells are much bigger than atoms. Atoms is the very smallest building block that we have on our planet. And as I said before, cells make up plants too. So plants are made of cells. They're an organism. It's important that we remember how important cells are. And in our human bodies, we've got kind of general cells that keep us going, but we've got specialized cells. Those specialized cells are hair, skin, bone, heart cells, brain cells called neurons that link to our nerves. There are some really important specialized cells within the human body. So next time, following on from this podcast, we'll explore how cells work together in tissues, organs, and organ systems. So, until next time, thanks for listening and see you next time. Bye!